The next Mass Effect game isn't set to be released for a while, like it's still in the pre-production stage, and because we're so far out from its release, we're less speculating on a lot of aspects of the game. One of the bigger topics is, when is this game going to take place? I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I thought it would be a good topic for a video. What makes this so interesting is that we got two separate storylines, set many years apart, hundreds of years apart. We've got the Milky Way timeline centered around Commander Shepard in the Reaper War, and then we have the Andromeda timeline centered around Ryder in the Ket War, and you're left wondering what BioWare is going to do regarding both of these timelines. So, for this video, I wanted to share my thoughts on what direction I think BioWare is going to take for the next game in the series. Also, if you guys could subscribe to the channel, I'd greatly appreciate it. We're closing in on 500 subs, and the goal is to eventually reach YouTube Partner, so any support is greatly appreciated. The last game to be released for the series is Mass Effect Andromeda. That game was the first game it was supposed to be a new era of Mass Effect. I say supposed because Mass Effect Andromeda received a mixed reception at launch. The game was very buggy, like you could tell the game was released with minimum quality control. One of the bugs I ran into was that I would fall under the map near the Drawleer forward station on Kadara, and it happened a few times. That's bad. And remember the Sarah Ryder memes? That wasn't based on a bug, but she had some weird facial expressions.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
The game could also feel static at times with its massive open worlds. So much space, and not enough things to do in them. And I'm sure it didn't help having to compete with a game like Horizon Zero Dawn. But looking back on Andromeda 7 years later, the game was decent. Bugs aside, the combat was pretty good, although I think the melee system could have been better, and we got some cool characters. I love the Tempest crew, especially Drac, PB, and Jaw, and the idea of being able to explore a new galaxy and new alien species. The Angar are a welcome addition to the species roster. Not to mention we got female models for the Krogan, love you Cash, and we saw a lot more female Turians. The only one we had seen at that point was Nyreen Kandros, her badass self. But despite Andromeda's good qualities, the fact that the reception was mixed on it back then and still is somewhat now, and that we haven't got a new Mass Effect game in years, the Legendary Edition isn't particularly new, it's a remaster of the trilogy. I don't see BioWare going back to this galaxy fully, at least not right away. This next Mass Effect game needs to sell well. The gameplay needs to be good. It needs to draw in the casual crowd, as well as bringing back veteran players to the series. And the best way to ensure that is to bring back its most iconic character, Commander Shepard, and the crewmates who served on the Normandy. We know Yara is going to be involved in some fashion, but this allows for more characters to return as well. That familiarity is sure to pique someone's interest. It wouldn't be just bringing them back for sales either. By going back to the Milky Way galaxy, it would allow BioWare to explore something that fans have wanted to see for years, the Milky Way galaxy post-Reaper War. This is something I've always wanted to see as well, and this is an opportunity to explore some new ground. The destroyed ending is the canon ending at this point. The Reapers are destroyed, and EDI, the Geth, and other AIs are gone as well. So what is the galaxy gonna be like in this Reaperless world? Are the Geth truly gone? Is EDI truly gone? If that's really it for EDI, then poor Joker. How far after the war will the game take place? I think 10, maybe 15 years would be a good time gap. It's not right after the war, but just enough to still witness the effects of it. Will the Yogg and the Railway finally join the galactic stage? The Railway retreated back to their world when the Reapers came, so it'd be a perfect opportunity to introduce them to the story. For the Yogg, we've seen Ketchwu or the Shadow Broker, and that one Yogg at the STG base on Surkesh. The Yogg were restricted to their planet due to their race being very violent, so would they be ready to join the rest of the galaxy? What if the Yogg were the main bad guys in the next game? I mentioned this in another video, I think. We've seen examples of what the Yogg are capable of, pure menaces, but what about a whole army of them? They would fuck shit up worse than the Krogan did during the rebellions. They would have to probably drop a genophage on them too. I hope it wouldn't come to that, but you see, there is a lot of potential here. But what about Andromeda? That storyline could get left hanging. To be fair, we haven't finished the Cat story. And I was actually excited for it, because you know it was about to be on as far as the war is concerned. I mean, we took down the Archon, that power-hungry bastard. But the Cat wanted to take over the Helios cluster and exalt the species there. The second game probably would have had us fighting Human Cat, Solarian Cat, more Krogan Cat, Turian Cat, although I'm suspicious of the Destined. Those long legs only make you wonder. Also, the Quarians, Batarians, and the other races would have most likely arrived in the next Andromeda game. There's a lot of potential here as well, but at the moment, I think going through with the Milky Way timeline would be the better way to go. I have heard the idea of having the Milky Way galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy being combined, so you have elements of both timelines. Remember this picture we got for N7 Day that has a nightclub in the middle? There's an Angara in here, so it makes you wonder what BioWare is going to do as far as both timelines. How could this be done? This is just a mini headcanon, but let's say we are released after Mass Effect 3 for whatever reason, like another arc was launched to Andromeda. Let's say we are released soon after Mass Effect 3. The original arcs left between Mass Effects 2 and 3, so only a few months to a year have passed since the end of the war. Liara could arrive in the year 2820 or 21, right in time to join Ryder and help them fight the Ket. Liara knew about the mission to Andromeda, so the idea is not too far out there. The big question about this little theory I have is that were the members of the initiative set to go in waves? Like one group of arcs set out, and maybe a year later, another group was set out. That would make Liara's arrival plausible, but this seems highly unlikely. I think every arc set out around the same time, but it is something to think about. Also, what exactly would have led Liara to leave for the Andromeda galaxy by herself? I have an idea about that I'm going to explain in my second headcanon. What if the game is set in both timelines by the way of jumping from one timeline to another? What I mean by this is, let's say the game starts in the Andromeda timeline, and at some point in the game, it jumps to the Milky Way timeline. And then later on, the timelines come together to form one. So let's say the Cat War is going on in Andromeda, right? Something is going on in Shepard's timeline where they have to travel to the Andromeda galaxy. Maybe something like the Dark Energy storyline could be reintroduced, and the Dark Energy is finally starting to cripple the Milky Way galaxy, leaving Shepard and company no choice but to head for Andromeda. The Crucible did let off a lot of energy. Maybe this added to the surplus of dark energy that was already existing. This could lead to a merger of the two storylines. You now have the Milky Way characters in the Andromeda galaxy. But this doesn't seem likely either, but it is kind of a cool idea. I know I'm dropping a lot of story ideas, but since we don't know what the game is going to be about right now, it allows for more room to speculate and brainstorm different directions. To be honest, I'm not sure how this would work. I'm dropping Andromeda ideas more than Milky Way ones, because going ahead in time seems like the more realistic option. BioWare could just go the time travel route, but time travel can be very tricky to get right, and BioWare needs this game to do well, so I don't know if it's worth the risk or not. But what do you guys? If I were BioWare, I would probably go with the Milky Way galaxy. It's a safer bet as the characters have already been established, and there is room to start a new story that expands on the finished one. But I do gotta admit that if Ryder is the main character for this next game, it's not gonna do as well. I think if Andromeda performed a bit better, maybe the sequel could have come earlier, but as it is, Ryder and the Tempest crew just aren't revered the same way as Shepard and the Normandy crew. And Andromeda is not revered the same way as the Milky Way trilogy is. But that's not to say that there will never be another game where Andromeda is the main focus. If this next game performs well, that could very much open the door to continuing the adventures of Ryder. But what galaxy do you think the next Mass Effect game is going to take place in? Let me know in the comments. And I want to thank you guys for watching the video. Feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
SonicFreak.